Well, welcome to the program, everyone. We begin the day with a clean bill of health. That's what the physicians of Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump have concluded about their patients, the presidential candidates. The medical history and the medical future of Clinton and Trump have been turned into instruments recently, instruments to insult each other and to plant doubts into the minds of voters. On Sunday, those doubts mushroomed after video emerged showing Clinton apparently fainting at the Ground Zero Memorial in New York City. We found out later that Clinton had a case of pneumonia. Well, today, Clinton was back on the campaign trail after a few days of rest.
Welcome back to Stronger Together.
How are you doing? How are you feeling?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much.
Now, Clinton's doctor says an antibiotic and some time off her feet did the trick. In a letter released yesterday by the Clinton campaign, Clinton's physician says that her patient is healthy and fit to be the next president. That letter was made public along with detailed medical information about Clinton. We know a lot more about Clinton's medical history compared to Donald Trump, and that should change today. The Republican candidate is appearing on the Dr. Oz television show to discuss the results of his recent physical. We're going to have more on that in just a moment. But first, a look at how a bad cold or even pneumonia can become a weapon aimed at the heart of a political campaign.
I don't know, folks. You think Hillary would be able to stand up here for an hour and do this? I don't think so. I don't think so.
Hillary Clinton fell ill this week, and the question of who's fit enough to be president took a literal turn in the headlines. Her campaign eventually said she has a minor case of pneumonia, but critics of the 69-year-old insisted her health is much worse than that. Questioning the fitness of presidential candidates is nothing new. Ronald Reagan was accused of being too old for the office, while many wondered if John McCain would live to see a second term. The average age of American presidents hovers in the mid-50s. Barack Obama was just 47 years old, though, when he became commander-in-chief.
8 years ago, I was a young man, full of idealism and vigor. And look at me now. I am gray, grizzled.
Now, concerns over their aging bodies has both candidates releasing their medical records. As she returns to the campaign trail after a few days of rest, Clinton's doctor says she is fit to serve. Trump's physician says he is too. Trump handed over his health report on an American talk show. And though he says he feels young, the 70-year-old admits he'd like to shed some pounds. But shedding the scrutiny over their health may be more difficult as they try to prove that age ain't nothing but a number.
I'd like to believe that one. All right, I'm joined now by Professor Arthur Caplan. He is Director of Medical Ethics at NYU's Langone Medical Center in New York. Professor Caplan, thanks for taking the time to join us tonight. Do you think the public really cares about the health and the health history of Clinton and Trump?
You know, I don't. I think that they still care more about issues. They still care more about whether they resonate with what the candidate has to say. I think health and the age of the candidates is certainly something they'd like a little bit of reassurance about. But look, they understand you don't have to be a Superman or a Hercules to serve as a politician.
You know, Donald Trump, he has been criticized for not releasing enough information about his medical history, for example. I want you to take a look at what he told Dr. Oz today.
If your health is as strong as it seems from your review of systems, why not share your medical records? Why not?
Well, I have really no problem in doing it. I have it right here. I mean, should I do it? I don't care. Should I do it? Yeah. It's two letters. One is the report, and the other is from Lenox Hill Hospital.
May I see them?
Saying, yeah, sure.
So these are the report.
Those were all the tests that were just done.
Mr. Caplan, let me ask you, what do you make of what we just saw there? I mean, what are the ethics involved when a physician says something about another person's health condition, Trump's, without examining him?
It's unprofessional. It's unethical. It shouldn't happen. So Trump is in control of the information that Dr. Oz gets to see. And while he's submitting kind of testimonials, that's not the same as doing the examination. So I think that was marketing, showmanship, and more politics. And what's been happening with this sort of dispute all week in the U.S. about the candidates' health is they're hitting each other over the head with stethoscopes to score political points. Neither of them has really done what's necessary to, if we cared, establish their fitness for the office. And what I mean by that is submit to an independent examination by a panel of doctors with expertise that have been appointed by our National Academy of Sciences or the National Institutes of Health here, and let them declare based on a physical and your history that you are okay to serve. That's the answer. Not many have been interested in getting that answer.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. There hasn't been much interest from either side in doing anything close to that. We've got another clip here from the Dr. Oz show today with Donald Trump. I'd like us to take a listen to that and get your reaction.
Let's talk about stamina. You've used that word a lot. You've made an issue in this campaign. You argue that a president has to have a tremendous amount of stamina. If elected at age 70, you will be the oldest person to ever enter the Oval Office. Why do you think you have the stamina for the job?
Yeah, just about the same age as Ronald Reagan, and Hillary's a year behind me. I would say just based on my life. I mean, I actually, and I don't know if this makes sense, I feel as good today as I did when I was 30.
I mean, you know, everybody likes to say things like that, don't they, Professor Caplan? What I think is really interesting here is the role of Dr. Oz. I mean, Dr. Oz, he's known around the world. His show is broadcast around the world, but he's been criticized in the U.S., in the U.K. as being a doctor who peddles off half-truths about medicine and about what doctors can and can't do, but sells them as being the truth. And Donald Trump chose him to provide the forum for talking about his medical history. I mean, don't you see ethical bombs going off all over the place there?
I do, because the attitude of American medicine is that Dr. Oz is performing an entertainment show, not a medical show, it's not a news show, pure entertainment, and that he's actually been the source of a lot of misperception and support for unproven treatments and remedies, whether it's superfoods, or he has had on many guests who apparently talk to people who are dead to get psychological and psychiatric advice, speaking to those in the hereafter. So this is, again, marketing. This is, if you will, Donald Trump as P.T. Barnum, basically selling in the way that famous founder of the circus did, the line or the bill of goods to a pretty gullible and willing doctor. And I think it's not going to quiet down any concerns that anyone had about Trump's health.
You know, we're running out of time, Mr. Caplan, but briefly, I just want to ask you about the Goldwater rule among psychiatrists in America, where, there's a rule that they're forbidden to talk about another person's mental health without consent, and also if they haven't examined that person themselves. Shouldn't that apply to the entire body across the board, especially when we're talking about candidates?
It absolutely should. I'll redub it the Caplan ethical rule. You don't diagnose, you do not pronounce the fitness or unfitness of anybody if you haven't personally examined them, questioned them, and had access to their full medical history. You can't even really do it unless you have both what previous examination showed and what you find out on the day you see them. You shouldn't do it. It's wrong to do it. It's been being done all week in the U.S., and it ought to stop.
All right, Professor Arthur Caplan at NYU's Medical Ethics Institute there. Professor Caplan, we really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us. And you can also hear Professor Caplan, his podcast on iTunes, talking about ethics. Thank you very much, Professor Caplan.
My pleasure.